Hey y'all, it's Mbina, aka the Crafty Lefty, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make some DIY felt succulents. So I know there are succulents all over Pinterest right now. It is all the rage to make your own succulents. There's so many different templates you can choose from and ways to construct them. So I'm going to go over all of those steps with you guys here, and all of the templates that I used as well as the supplies and felts that I used are in the links below. So pull up a chair, let's get started. All right, y'all, this is our last succulent flower that we're going to make. This is the most time consuming. I did kind of make up this succulent. If you see this same design on Pinterest, it's a coincidence. I did not get this from anybody. I sort of just made it up on my own. I've seen this type of succulent out there, so I thought this is the best way that I know how to make it. One of the great things about these succulents is that it takes very few craft supplies. So to make all of these succulents, obviously I used felt, some fabric scissors or just really sharp scissors would be great, hot glue, some straight pins, and your template of choice. This is what the finished product looks like. Don't judge me for the color. I know this is a hideous green for a succulent. I just used it because I had some extra felt at home and I wanted to test it out to see how it would work. Previously, I have sewn this flower together, but I really wanted to make it easy for you guys. I wanted to see how I could make this flower with just hot glue. And so that's why I kind of jerry-rigged this together, and this is how I did it. So this is the most time-intensive succulent, both in cutting out your petals as well as putting it together, just because of the nature of how many petals you're working with. I could not figure out a way to make this sort of one thing that you can just roll like we've done with our rosettes. With this particular design, the only way I found that would work is if you cut out each individual petal. So for that reason, I suggest just putting on one of your favorite movies on Netflix, have it in the background, with your, hot beverage of choice, and just go to town making these petals, because I don't know any other faster way to do it. But for these petal sizes, I will drop a link for this template that you can download, print, cut out, and then follow these instructions that we're going to go over right now. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention before we get started actually cutting these out and building this particular succulent is that because I did not sew this, because I hot glued it, and then if you can see there's actually 3 different layers of petals because there's 3 different layers of sizes. Essentially what you're doing is you're making a small flower, a medium flower, and then a large flower, and then you're just stacking them on top of each other. When you stack them, you're going to be hot gluing them. They need to be hot glued to something, right? So that's why we have these circles in the back. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to make your largest flower and you're going to hot glue these petals to a circle. Then you're going to be making your medium flower, hot gluing your petals to a circle. Same thing with your small flower. You're going to be hot gluing it to a circle. That way, when you're all done with your 3 flowers, you're essentially going to be hot gluing the flower to that circular base. So it has something to adhere to. If you can kind of see my circular bases peeking out there in the folds. No one's going to see them once it's done. You can't even tell that I have those circular bases there. All you can see is the petals, which is what you want. All right, let's get started. Okay, so for this particular succulent, I went ahead and cut out 6 petals of each size. As you group them and you layer them, you might find that you need 6 of one kind of flower, 7 of another kind of flower, maybe 8 of another kind of flower. It really just depends as you're building it, how thick your felt is, how much you kind of grouped your petals together. So this is a little loosey-goosey. I know this is not a strict count. What I did do though for my last set is I did use 7 petals, and I think that worked well. But for everything else, the middle flower and the small flower, I used 6. So let's just see what happens with that same count and see if it works this time. We might have to cut out some extra petals. Let's see. Okay, so as with all of our other felt succulent templates, we're just going to be taking some pins and putting them in place so it's easier for us to cut out our petals. I really liked this felt. It's very soft and malleable, so I think it lends itself to having petals that you can fold and hot glue, and it'll sort of stay its shape, but it still retains that kind of very soft look, which I think is really cool. And I think this color is actually pretty spot on for succulents as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and assemble our biggest flower first. So this is the flower that sits all the way at the bottom. We have our hot glue fired up. I have my circle here. This is probably roughly a 1 inch to 1.5 inch circle. Again, it's not going to be seen. It's going to be all the way on the back. If you want to make this a little bit bigger, you can totally do that. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to just pinch each petal together so it creates this fold right here. Now to keep it this way, we're going to need some hot glue. So I'm just going to put a dab of hot glue right in the center and then pinch them together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that for all of them, and I will meet you back here once I'm done. Okay, so now all of our petals have been glued, and what we're going to do is we're going to run a line of glue right here on this seam so that when we put this guy down on our circle, it will adhere. So just as thin of a line as you can get with your hot glue gun, and you're going to just angle him so that where your petal ends is right in the middle of your circle. And then like a clock, you're just gonna go around adding more petals. It's the perfect size to do all 7 petals. That's what it looks like from the back. Looks great. So our biggest flower layer is done. So now we're going to move on to the medium layer. This is probably 3/4 diameter, I would say, of the circle. Obviously, I just eyeballed this, guys. I did not use a template or a stencil or anything. I just kind of cut the circle up freehand. All right, so same thing. We are going to pinch all of our petals together and put some hot glue right in the middle so it stays like in this shape. Okay, let's do that. Okay, now that our petals are done, we're just going to glue them to our circular shape here. Again, we're just going to run a line of glue all along this fold here and angle him in so he's about halfway in. Apply some pressure and move on to the next one. Okay, and that's what that guy looks like when he's all done. So we have our large flower, our medium flower, and this is going to go right on top when we start gluing. So let's do our last flower. All right, so my toddler just woke up early from her nap, way early. So she's gonna be in the background, I think, while we finish up this flower. Okay, so same thing with our last smallest flower here. We're just going to pinch each of these petals with some hot glue so it creates that crease. And don't do what I do, but do as I say. You're gonna try to wanna make these as neat as possible because this is our smallest flower, which means it is gonna be seen from the top. So try to make your dabs of glue as sort of dainty and small as possible. Try not to have any spillage. Again, just because there's nothing covering up that flower. And she just knocked her books down. So now that we have all of our flowers glued, we're just going to glue them to this middle circle. And I think we can do it in 6. So let's see. Again, we're just going to try to be as neat as possible with this one because this is the one that's going to be seen. So try to make all of your petals line up perfectly. Try to make sure that they stand up nice and straight. And I'm actually going to do this way, just so it stays pretty symmetric. Again, no one's really gonna see that circular felt piece down below. It's all gonna be covered up with your petals, so you don't have to worry about that one peeking through. But we do want to make sure that our petals are nice and even. Okay, and if you find that that circular piece is peeking out like mine is right now, oops, I lied. I'm just going to fan these guys out a little bit more. They're not going anywhere because I hot glued them, but I'm just gonna fan them out a little bit more and open up those leaves so that you can't see the circle. And honestly, because we're using the same felt color, it's really just gonna blend in. Okay. Before my toddler goes crazy, let's just glue these guys in place. So first thing we're gonna do is put some glue on the back of this guy. I'm just gonna do a really big blob right here so that it will adhere to all of these petals that are coming in the center. So I'm just gonna put a big blob right there, put it down in the center, and then just smush. Just apply as much pressure as I can to have it adhere. Just smush it down in there. And because this is 6 petals and this is 7 petals, there's no sort of rhyme or reason. You don't have to angle them a particular way. Now when you do your last layer, your top smallest flower, I do want to stagger it so that it's not directly in the 6. See how that is? This is 6 petals, this is 6 petals. So I want to kind of stagger them so that they're not directly on top of each other so you can see all of those layers. So same thing, I'm going to put a big blob of glue right in the center, making sure to stagger here, and then I'm just going to smush. That's our succulent flower. I think it came out pretty good. Again, this is the hideous green that I made as my tester, and then this is the moss colored green that I made now with you guys, and I think they came out pretty good. Thanks so much for joining me, y'all. I hope you liked creating our felt succulents today. I'd love to see what creations you come up with, so definitely drop me some messages in the comments and let me know what template you like, what kind of felt you like, and the succulents that you create. Until next time, keep it crafty. Bye.